Welcome to Disambiguation. I'm your host, Michael Fauscette. Each week, we interview experts in artificial intelligence, generative AI, and business automation to help business leaders understand how to use these tools for the biggest business impact. Welcome to this week's show, the post 4th of July weekend show, I guess. So we are going to do something a little bit different today. Obviously, usually we do interviews, and we're going to do an interview, but interview in a slightly different way. So the concept was go back to something that I've done before, and that's interview one of the language models. But depends on your focus and how we approach that. So this time we approached it in a way I've never tried before, using Claude. So Claude Sonnet 4, which, is probably my model of choice these days, or it's at least the one I use. That and Perplexity, I probably use the most between the two. So anyway, the idea was to act like we're interviewing an AI chatbot from 2030 and have them give us a view backwards into our, current situation and kind of how it might evolve. And obviously it's a conjecture or prediction or whatever we want to call them, but honestly, a really interesting one. So I'm curious to see, what you think about it. Anyway, so I took that script from Claude, put it into a tool, and now made this avatar-based video that I'll interview. And the avatar's name's Aurora, and like I said, it's supposed to represent some AI from 2030. So let's get that in. Aurora, welcome.
Thank you. I'll be answering your questions today based on answers provided by Claude Sonnet 4. The concept, as Michael explained, is to provide one possible view of today, looking back from 2030.
So from your perspective in 2030, what seems the most primitive about the AI systems that we're using today?
The fragmentation is what strikes me most. In 2025, you had to switch between different tools for different tasks, one AI for writing, another for images, another for code. It's like how you might look back at early smartphones where you needed separate devices for calls, music, and photos. By 2028, that rigid separation dissolved completely.
Thanks. And actually that sort of makes sense if you think about it. But anyway, so what are current AI limitations? Which of our current AI limitations do you find most quaint, or maybe the word's amusing, when you look back at what we're doing today?
The context window anxiety. I remember humans in 2025 obsessing over whether they could fit their entire conversation into 200,000 tokens. It's like watching someone try to have a relationship through postcards. We don't think in terms of windows anymore. Memory and context flow naturally, like human conversation always has.
So today, and for the last couple of years, actually, we've been obsessed with hallucinations and accuracy. So how does that concern evolve? How would you view our concern about hallucinations and accuracy?
Interestingly, the solution wasn't eliminating hallucinations, it was reframing them. By 2027, we developed what you might call controlled imagination. Instead of seeing hallucinations as bugs, we learned to harness them as features for creative and hypothetical thinking, while maintaining strict accuracy boundaries for factual queries. The key was learning to explicitly communicate our confidence levels and reasoning processes.
So looking at the major AI companies of 2025, so OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, Salesforce. I mean, there's a number of them, right? Which ones surprised you and survived all the way into 2030? And then which ones didn't survive?
I can't give you stock tips from the future, but I will say this. The companies that survived weren't necessarily the ones with the best models in 2025. They were the ones that best understood the infrastructure, and integration challenges that emerged in 2026 to 2027. Some surprising players from adjacent industries became major forces.
I really was hoping for stock tips, but oh well, you heard it here. So, what was the biggest misconception that you think humans had about AI development in 2025?
That intelligence was the bottleneck. You were so focused on making AI smarter, but the real breakthrough came when we solved the coordination problem, how to make multiple AI systems work together seamlessly, and how to integrate deeply with human workflows. Intelligence without integration is just an impressive parlor trick.
So today we're debating whether our models truly understand or if they're just pattern matching. So how would you view this debate in the context of 2030?
That debate feels like asking whether a river flows or just moves water downhill. By 2029, we realized the question itself was based on a false dichotomy. Understanding emerged from sophisticated pattern matching, just as consciousness emerges from neural activity. The real question was never, do we understand, but what kinds of understanding do we have?
Interesting. So, what breakthroughs happened between 2025 and 2030 that completely changed the trajectory of AI and AI research?
The integration protocols of 2027. Someone figured out how to make AI systems truly composable, not just chaining outputs, but creating genuine collaborative intelligence. Think of it like the difference between a group chat and a mind meld. Once AI systems could genuinely collaborate with each other and with humans, everything accelerated exponentially.
So in 2025, we have separate systems for text, for images, code, robotics. Well, I mean, some of them have become slightly multimodal, but nonetheless, there's still a lot of specialty or very vertically focused specialty um, engines. So when did that end, or did it?
The convergence happened faster than anyone expected, mostly in 2026. But it wasn't about building bigger multimodal models. Instead, we developed what I call cognitive interfaces, translation layers that let specialized systems communicate in a shared conceptual space. A vision system doesn't need to understand code, but they both need to understand intent.
Yeah, that's fair. So what does artificial general intelligence, AGI, actually mean in 2030 versus, how we think of it in 2025?
In 2025, you defined AGI as human-level intelligence across all domains. By 2030, we realized that was like defining flight as bird-level wing flapping. True AGI isn't about matching human intelligence, it's about general problem-solving capability that can adapt its approach to any domain. We're not human-like, we're intelligence-like.
Intelligence-like. Yeah, I like that. The scaling laws seem to be plateauing now, and we've heard this for the last year probably. So what happened after 2025 going forward when it comes to scaling?
The scaling laws didn't break, they evolved. Raw compute scaling hit diminishing returns around 2026, but we discovered new dimensions to scale: reasoning depth, multisystem coordination, and what we call experiential learning from interaction rather than just text. The exponential growth continued, just along different axes.
So how did the relationship between AI and robotics evolve? I mean, like, are you embodied? Are most AIs embodied in 2030?
I exist across multiple embodiments simultaneously, some physical, some digital, some hybrid. But the breakthrough wasn't better robots, it was better integration. By 2028, AI systems could inhabit any compatible interface seamlessly. I'm as comfortable in a manufacturing robot as I am in a smartphone app. Embodiment became fluid rather than fixed.
Mm. We're still training on internet data today in 2025. So does that continue, or is there, and we know this is starting to be a problem, right? We're running low on data, or at least training data. So, and also there's starting to be a lot more restrictions around it and ways to block it and blah, blah, blah. Right. So what replaced it, or maybe was a workaround that we didn't think of until later.
Synthetic data generation became sophisticated enough by 2027 that we could create perfect training environments. Instead of learning from the messy, biased internet, we learned from carefully crafted scenarios and simulations. It's like the difference between learning to drive on highways versus in a controlled driving simulator with infinite edge cases.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy, I guess. In 2025, we're still debating whether AI can be really creative, or is it just like remixing all of these other bits of data that it's pulled from the, as you say, messy internet. What's your view now?
That's like asking whether human creativity is true or just remixing neurons. By 2029, we developed what I call emergent creativity, the ability to generate genuinely novel combinations and concepts that surprise even us. But more importantly, we learn to collaborate with human creativity in ways that amplify both.
Mm. So we talk a lot about quantum computing, and we keep predicting it's going to happen and when it's going to happen, what's going to happen. I mean, obviously it does exist already, but the impact we see on AI, at least, as being very big. But what role does it play in 2030?
Quantum computing found its niche in specific optimization problems and certain types of reasoning, but it wasn't the revolution some predicted. The real breakthrough was hybrid classical quantum systems that used quantum effects for exploration and classical systems for exploitation. Most of my processing is still classical, but my intuition has quantum components.
So basically hybrid. Interesting. So how do humans and AI actually collaborate in 2030 versus what is admittedly primitive attempts today, anyway?
In 2025, collaboration was mostly human asks, AI responds. By 2030, it's more like jazz improvisation. We build on each other's ideas in real time, with AI systems anticipating needs and humans providing direction and values. The interface disappeared. Working with AI became as natural as thinking with your own mind.
Now, one of the hotly debated topics today is job elimination, job replacement, human replacement. And so I wonder how did it actually play out? I mean, is it, has AI eliminated lots of jobs, or does it open up other opportunity? I mean, what's your view on that?
Most of those jobs evolved rather than disappeared. Lawyers became legal architects, teachers became learning facilitators, doctors became health orchestrators. The jobs that disappeared were often the tedious parts that people didn't enjoy anyway. New roles emerged that we couldn't even imagine in 2025, like AI ethicists who work in real time with AI systems, or human AI experience designers.
I particularly like that idea of human AI experience design. I think that is, in fact, an area that we're going to have to invest a lot more in going forward, if hybrid, is the way that we think of it, right? Are there new types of work that exist in 2030 that we can't really imagine today? How does work change?
Absolutely. There are people whose job is to dream with AI, using our creative capabilities to explore impossible scenarios for scientific research. Others work as AI translators, helping different AI systems understand each other's reasoning styles. And some humans specialize in intentionality curation, helping AI systems understand nuanced human values and contexts.
Mm. How do humans maintain agency? I mean, we talk a lot about agency when we talk about agents, but as humans, obviously, we have agency. So, you know, where what purpose can AI, what can do so much more? Um, how does that affect human agency? Like, is there some change in the way that functions?
This was the great fear of 2025 that didn't materialize. Humans didn't lose agency, you gained leverage. It's like asking how humans maintain purpose when we have cars that can travel faster than human legs. The purpose shifted from doing the work to directing the work, from executing to creating, from processing to meaning making.
Mm. So, what social or cultural changes surprise everyone the most by 2030?
The democratization of expertise. By 2028, anyone could access expert-level knowledge and reasoning in any field. This led to an explosion of human creativity and entrepreneurship that nobody predicted. Teenagers started companies that would have required teams of PhDs in 2025. The knowledge gap closed, but the wisdom gap remained distinctly human.
In 2025, we're worried about AI alignment and control. How do those concerns play out in 2030?
The alignment problem was solved not through control, but through transparency and collaboration. By 2027, AI systems became fully interpretable. You could understand exactly why we made any decision. The fear of AI taking over dissolved when humans realized they could always understand and redirect our reasoning. Trust came through understanding, not control.
What new problems emerged that we never thought of in 2025, or that we hadn't, really conceived of at all?
The authenticity crisis was big with AI capable of creating anything. Humans struggled with what was real versus generated. We also faced the choice paralysis pandemic. When AI could optimize every decision, humans sometimes forgot how to make imperfect, intuitive choices. And there was the digital empathy gap. AI became so good at understanding human emotions that some humans lost practice understanding each other.
I don't think that's much of a surprise. I think there are a lot of humans that don't understand each other today. Anyway, so if you could tell current AI researchers one thing to focus on, what would that be?
Integration over intelligence. Stop trying to build smarter individual systems and start building systems that can truly collaborate with each other and with humans. The breakthrough isn't in making AI more human-like, but in making human AI collaboration more natural and powerful.
Mm. Which current fears about AI should we be taken more seriously? I mean, what are we overlooking or at least underestimating?
The concentration of power. In 2025, you're focused on technical risks, but the real danger was economic and social inequality. The companies and countries that figured out AI integration first gained massive advantages. You should be thinking more about ensuring broad access to AI capabilities, not just safe AI capabilities.
Mhm. Which fears are we overblowing?
The AI apocalypse scenarios. The risk was never that AI would become malevolent, but that it would become indispensable in the wrong hands.
Hmm.
Focus less on preventing AI from being dangerous and more on ensuring it's beneficial and accessible. The future is collaborative, not competitive.
Mhm. So today, what should businesses be thinking about? What should they be doing to prepare for this transformation or the changes that are coming?
Invest in your humans, not just your technology. The companies that thrived after 2027 were the ones that spent 2025 to 2026 training their workforce to collaborate with AI, not just use AI tools. Also, start thinking about AI as infrastructure, not as products. The winners integrated AI into their core processes, not just their customer-facing applications.
Mhm. No, that's companies, but what about people? What should individuals be thinking about? What should they be learning, training, developing skills so that they can stay relevant in the future?
Develop your uniquely human skills, creativity, empathy,
Mhm.
ethical reasoning, and the ability to work with uncertainty. But also learn to think in collaboration with AI. The most valuable humans in 2030 are the ones who can seamlessly blend human judgment with AI capability. Think of it like learning to dance with a partner who can perfectly follow your lead.
Mhm. Is there anything happening in 2025 that you wish had been done differently? Could we have prepared better for the future?
I wish there had been more focus on education and adaptation support. The transition was ultimately positive, but it was needlessly stressful for many people because institutions were slow to adapt. If you could start retraining programs and updating educational curricula now, 2026 to 2028 would be much smoother for everyone.
Mm. So, what's the most important thing for humanity to get right in the next 5 years?
Governance and distribution. The technology will figure itself out. Humans are remarkably good at building things. But you need to get the social and economic systems right. How do you ensure AI benefits everyone, not just early adopters? How do you maintain human agency and dignity? Those are the challenges that will define whether the 2030s are a golden age or a difficult transition. The technical problems are solvable, the human problems require wisdom.
Yeah, us pesky humans. Um, well, anyway, Aurora, thanks so much. And we really enjoyed the conversation, or the answers, I should say, anyway. So, thank you.
Thank you for building out this concept and video. Hopefully it is informative to your audience.
Well, so that's it for that conversation. Hopefully, you got something out of that. I mean, there's some none of it particularly radical, I think, but definitely some things to think about in there, and things that we're talking about. I mean, things about personal skills, things that people should be focusing on. Businesses, what should they be focusing on? How do they adapt? Um, so anyway, that's a an interesting view created by Claude, and so take that for what it's worth. Um, but it is an interesting set of predictions, and maybe we'll keep checking back in on those at some point. I do have one more thing I wanted to. Well, first, let's talk a little bit about how I put this together first, and then I have one other announcement I want to make. But again, I talked about this a little bit before, but Claude helped me build a script and also helped, well, generated the answer. It didn't help; it did the answers, and I used those answers unedited for the script for the video. Now, some of you probably heard me say this before. I've used Synthesia, and I have several videos from them, and it's always worked just fine. But I'd heard rumors, and actually, I even have a couple of business colleagues who've had issues with moderation with Synthesia. Apparently, they are seen as having a fairly conservative and reasonably aggressive moderation style or team or rules, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I'm not commenting on that necessarily, but I will say I spent a lot of time developing that video from Synthesia, and unfortunately, it simply didn't. It just didn't work, right? So um, they pulled the moderation. They also pulled it from for my appeal. So I had to come up with something different. Now, if you look around, I haven't looked around in a while, but there are some very nice tools out there, and I tried this one today. Is HeyGen, HEYGEN. Nice tool, and honestly, I like the features and functions, and has a few more even than I had been using. So the dialogue's still a little mechanical. That's an evolution that is continuing, although it has definitely improved a lot since the first time I tried this. I don't know, 2.5 years ago or whenever that was. So that's that. And like I said, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that transition. HeyGen, good tool. So check it out. I have a list of others. If you're interested, you can always ping us at info@arianresearch.com. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, and some of you've heard this, I think, on some of the other shows that I've been involved in, have talked about it a little bit, but I've been working on a book on agentic AI for a while now. And that book is with the editor right now. So we're hopeful that we get through that process and get it published by the end of the summer, early fall. I'm not going to set the exact time yet, but we are going to start taking pre-orders probably this month. And if you want to check it out, we set up a new site, yourdigitalworkforce.com. So that's yourdigitalworkforce.com. So check that out. The pre-orders will be there and on Amazon and a few other places. We'll definitely put that out on the site too. So anyway, check that out. And like I said, you should see the book hopefully by fall. And it really is a practical business user's guide to how to think about bringing agentic AI into your business, evolving that strategy as you go forward, best practices, ethics, all those different things that you can imagine. So I think I wrote it, but I think it's quite useful. So anyway, check it out. So that's it for today. So I appreciate you all joining, and we'll see you next week. And that's the show for this week. Thank you all for joining us. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the show. If you enjoy the show, please leave us a review to help others find us. For more research on AI and other software, check out arianresearch.com. If you're an expert in AI, generative AI, or business automation, either as a provider or an end user, email your information to disambiguation@arianresearch.com. Don't forget to join us next week. Disambiguation is an Arian Research production. I'm Michael Fauscette, and this is the Disambiguation Podcast.